Welcome to Mighty Habits. I'm Steven,
And I'm Eric.
and
Good
today
morning.
we're diving deep into a book that's
Yes.
gotten a lot of attention and buzz.
Uh-huh.
It's called Stoner by John Williams.
It has. It has. Stoner is often referred to as a classic campus novel, and it's really resonated with readers over the years. It's considered a must-read by many in the literary world, and I think today we really want to understand what makes this story of a professor named William Stoner so captivating.
Yeah. I mean, what is it about this particular book about a professor
Right.
that just is so compelling to people?
Yeah.
We'll be looking at what sets it apart and why it's received so much praise, especially compared to other well-known stories about universities.
Yeah, one thing that I think is really interesting to consider right from the start is that Stoner actually arrives at the university to study agriculture,
Okay.
but like a very practical field. But then he has this encounter with literature, specifically a Shakespeare sonnet, which completely changes his life. He kind of finds himself unexpectedly drawn to the world of books and ideas.
So it's more than just a sort of casual interest in reading, right?
Right.
Like a
Yeah.
complete shift in his being.
Totally. It's like a total redirection of his whole path.
Yeah.
He goes from this very grounded, kind of predetermined path to this wide open world of intellectual exploration
Yeah.
um, that literature opens up for him. It's almost as if he discovers who he really is through these words.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's really beautiful about the way Williams writes this is that this transformation is not depicted as this huge dramatic event.
Right?
It's a very quiet internal awakening.
Yeah.
And what's so compelling about that is that it kind of mirrors how our own lives can be shaped by these seemingly small or insignificant moments or
Right.
realizations, right?
Yeah, those little things can have a big impact sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So this choice that he makes to pursue academia, this life of the mind, it really sets him apart from his family, who have these more, practical expectations for him.
Okay. So this life of the mind becomes central for him.
Yes.
We see him navigate his career, his relationships, everything really within this world that he's chosen.
Right.
It's interesting how the university is not just a background.
Huh?
It's almost like another character in the story.
It is.
It really shapes his experiences.
Yeah.
Both the good and the bad.
Absolutely. And if we think about it in the context of the broader genre of campus novels, Stoner offers something really unique.
Okay.
So, you have some novels in this category that highlight the more sensational, maybe dramatic aspects of university life.
Right. The crazy parties.
Right, exactly. Like secret societies, big social dramas.
Yeah.
But Stoner goes deeper. It explores the more internal, perhaps more enduring parts of being in a university,
Okay.
like that deep love of learning, the commitment to one's field of study, the struggles within the institution itself, and the relationships between teachers and students.
I think this is where things get really interesting for me. This book, it seems to appeal to a really wide range of readers.
Yes.
What is it about Stoner's seemingly ordinary life that captures so many people?
Right.
He's not this groundbreaking scholar or someone super famous, He's just a professor dedicated to his work, facing regular disappointments, frustrations, kind of like a lot of people in any field, really.
I think that's actually a key observation. Stoner's life on the surface seems pretty unremarkable.
Sure.
And maybe that's why so many people connect with it.
Interesting.
I think a lot of readers, whether or not they've been to a university, can relate to those quiet struggles,
All
the
right.
compromises you have to make, the small victories,
Yeah.
and just the search for meaning in their work and life.
Okay.
There's something universal in his experiences,
Mm.
ambition, disappointment, love, loss,
Yeah.
all happening within this very specific setting of a university.
So it's the realness of Stoner, the authenticity of his journey that draws us in, even though the specifics of his job might be unique to that world.
Exactly. And the novel intentionally avoids anything sensational.
Okay.
Instead, it focuses on his inner life.
Interesting.
We see his intellectual growth, his passion for literature, but also his flaws, his complicated relationships,
Right.
the setbacks he faces at work, and ultimately his acceptance of how his life turned out.
Yeah.
It's a really human portrait of a man finding his purpose and dealing with the challenges of life within a specific environment.
And, the comparison to other campus novels is fascinating. We mentioned Brideshead Revisited by Evelyn Waugh earlier.
Yes.
What are some key differences between these two novels that might explain why Stoner has this unique, maybe more understated appeal?
Right. So Brideshead Revisited, it often explores aristocracy, religious faith, and kind of youthful energy, often with a much stronger sense of drama and social commentary.
Okay.
Whereas Stoner feels more grounded, more focused on the individual experience. Right.
It's not so much about these big social issues.
Yeah.
It's more about the individual's connection to their work
Mm-hmm.
and their own emotions. The emotional tone of Stoner is very subtle.
Okay.
It uses nuanced observations and quiet, revealing moments instead of huge plot twists or social upheavals.
So both are set in universities, but they offer very different views on what that means for the characters.
Right.
Stoner seems to go beyond those sometimes romanticized ideas about academic life
Yeah,
to reveal the more personal and universal struggles underneath.
absolutely. And I think that choice to focus on the inner life of a seemingly regular academic
Mm-hmm.
is really compelling in itself. It challenges the idea that only big stories or extraordinary people deserve our attention.
Right.
Stoner quietly suggests that there's real drama and meaning in the everyday lives of those who dedicate themselves to learning,
Yeah.
even if those lives have disappointments and unfulfilled potential.
So this brings up a question. Who would you say this book is for?
Well, based on what we've talked about,
Yeah. It seems like people who love character-driven stories,
hmm
those drawn to classic literature that prioritizes internal exploration over fast-paced plots,
yeah,
and anyone interested in the subtle dramas of academia
right.
might find Stoner really rewarding and
It
thought-provoking.
makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. It's a novel that really invites you to look inward and reflect on work, love,
hmm
and the search for meaning in life.
Yeah.
I think readers who appreciate subtlety and a deep, empathetic dive into one person's journey will be moved by Stoner.
So Stoner by John Williams seems to be a really captivating look at academic life.
Yes.
And more broadly, at the human experience within a university.
Mm.
It's earned all that praise it gets.
Cool.
It continues to spark these interesting comparisons to other famous books in its genre.
It offers a really unique perspective on what it means to dedicate your life to learning and finding meaning in even the quietest parts of life.
If this deep dive into Stoner has piqued your interest, and you're thinking about giving it a read, we highly recommend picking up a copy and diving into William Stoner's world.
Definitely.
And if you enjoy this in-depth discussion, please follow or subscribe to Mighty Habits
Yes.
for more deep dives into fascinating subjects.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.